strategy, this negotiation with China isn't working.
Yeah, he's in a lose-lose situation because either he goes through with his bluster about China and the stock market tanks, or he doesn't and he is a big loser because he can't get a deal with China. So he really he's in a box canyon here. He can't get out. And what's fascinating to me, I would go further than you went. I mean, he acknowledged yesterday, the first time, that he has consistently and constantly lied about tariffs. He acknowledged that the American consumer pays the costs of tariffs. What does Christmas have to do with it if China's paying for it? Christmas has nothing to do with it if China's paying for it. The only reason Christmas is relevant, because that means Americans are going to be paying more for their Christmas presents, and it's going to cost them more, and that will come back on him. Well, he finally acknowledged, and, maybe reporters today will say, well, why would Christmas make a difference if China's paying for it? And I'm sure he'd lie and pivot, but it is really important that this is the beginning of him acknowledging the big fat lie he's been telling from day one about tariffs.
He wanted the tariffs reduced on toy trucks because he loves trucks.
He does love it. He does love a truck. Well,
since he was 4.
Yeah,
I've loved trucks.
He came as close as he comes to making a concession by saying, just in case they might have an impact on people. And Sam Stein, these, of course, were supposed to create leverage for the president in a deal with China on trade. He thought, if I slap all these tariffs, a second tranche that would come up later in the year, China will have to cave on a trade deal, and they have not.
Yeah, I mean, there's two explanations here. Either he doesn't know what he's doing and doesn't have a coherent and doesn't have a coherent strategy. Thank you, Mike, for his relations with China, or he views the ability to warn about tariffs and then take away that warning as a tool to leverage in order to juice the stock market. And either one is bad, obviously. If he's playing games just to get juice the Dow, that's bad. If he's rambling around trying to figure out what to do with China, that's bad too. But my suspicion is that because of political pressures, eventually he's going to want and will probably craft a deal with China. And he'll do it because of electoral implications, and he'll do it regardless of whether the actual outcome of the deal is significantly better than where we started. And the volatility that will come up along the way will have a real tangible impact on our economy. But he measures, as Jonathan said, he measures his success by the Dow. And I think, that is what he saw in the past week. The Dow took a tumble, and then he wanted to juice it up again. And so this is the type of economic philosophy that we're working under, and it's incredibly volatile.
Okay, so I never thought I would say this, but you actually have to feel sorry for financial traders at the moment because they are trying to come on. They must be exhausted, as most people are, just by the tweets that are coming out of the White House. They are trying to make some kind of longer-term decisions, and you have from one day to the next, whether it is a tweet or a pronouncement that then reverses itself the next day, and you're getting these crazy swings on the market, and at the same time you can't rely on the Fed to be there as a cushion because the Fed is under attack from the White House as well. And I mean, Rick, Tyler, this is not working the way that most Republican administrations would work, where you have no cushion allowed from the Federal Reserve because that's coming under pressure, and then these policy effectively made by tweet, global economic and trade policy being made by tweet, which changes from day to day.
Rick?
Sorry, that's me. Yes. Yeah, no, I
floored him.
You did, because this president's completely inconsistent all the time. And so, on one hand, he's complaining because the Chinese are manipulating their currency, which they currently now are, because they've let the yuan fall to below 7. And yet he complains that our own Federal Reserve won't manipulate our own currency. Look, tariffs are just a loser all the way around. They either cost investors money and you can't sustain that in the long run because they have to ultimately pass costs on the customers. But if you're wealthy, tariffs don't bother you. 25% on whatever you're buying at the store, that's no big deal to you. But if you're poor, that's the difference between eating today and not eating today. It's a terrible, terrible tax. And who does it hurt the most? It hurts poor people the most. And, this idea that we have some ability to, if we had an ability to tax China, why wouldn't we tax China? I would tax China for everything, and then we wouldn't have to pay for anything. There's no ability for a sovereign nation to tax another nation. There's no Chinese money coming into the U.S. Treasury, as there was no ability for Mexican pesos to come into the U.S. Treasury to pay for the wall. It's just all a charade designed to confuse people so that they don't know, up from down.
And as Claire said, this is sort of a tacit acknowledgement of all that he's going to put it off so it doesn't ruin Christmas for people. We'll see where this ends up. Meanwhile, on the heels of recent mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is planning to ask the president